India's domestic content requirements against the WTO agreements. Domestic content requirements. To encourage domestic production and create employment opportunities, countries sometimes mandate that a certain percentage of the value of a product be sourced locally. This requirement is called Domestic Content Requirement (DCR). While this is helpful in enhancing domestic production, it is also controversial. It is argued to be a violation of national treatment principle by differentiating between domestic and foreign products and inconsistent with the WTO agreement for being discriminatory. Some of India's DCRs. India had planned to reduce the cost of solar power generation in the country through a long-term policy, large-scale deployment targets and domestic production of key raw materials, components and products. With this ambition, India introduced DCRs related to solar cells and modules. The measures were challenged before the WTO panel, contending it to be in violation of the GATT 1994 Interims Agreement. India argued that the arrangements fell within the general exception of the GATT 1994 because of its lack of domestic manufacturing capacity in solar cells and modules and the risk of disruption to imports, making them products in general or local short supply. However, failing to provide sufficient evidence to demonstrate the presence of an immediate threat of scarcity, the measures were held to be unjustifiable. Some of India's DCRs canned. In 2019, all government agencies in India were required to procure goods as well as EPC contracts from bidders that have or can meet the minimum prescribed domestic value addition for iron and steel products as well as capital goods. The policy made discriminations in awarding contract quantity for bidders of domestic suppliers and foreign suppliers. European Commission investigated the policy and found that it did not constitute a countervailable subsidy. Moreover, it was also observed that while foreign companies were excluded from some bids, there was no price discrimination where the bids were open to foreign companies. Conditions for DCRs to be permissible under WTO regulations. DCRs that allow governments to prefer domestic products in their procurement for use in welfare purposes are not inconsistent with GATT. DCR arising from an imperative need to protect the well-being and vitality of human, animal or plant life does not contravene international trade regulations. DCRs implemented to protect against overexploitation and depletion of extractable natural resources are exempted from the regulations. Any questions? Ask C-Quel.